The universe expands, yet the truth remains, still within.
What if we were never meant to know? What if the reason we haven't found anything out there is not because there is nothing to find, but because we were never meant to find it? For decades, humanity has searched the skies, listening for signals, scanning distant planets, trying to detect even the smallest sign that we are not alone. And yet, the universe remains silent. No clear messages, no confirmed contact, just distance and silence. But what if that silence is not emptiness? What if it is intentional? Because every time we imagine life beyond Earth, we picture something that wants to communicate, something that would reveal itself, make contact, announce its presence. But that assumption says more about us than about what might actually exist. We communicate because we are social. We explore because we are curious. But what if something out there does not share those same motivations? What if observation is enough? Think about how we study the world around us. When scientists observe animals in the wild, they do everything possible to remain unseen. Because the moment the subject becomes aware of being watched, its behavior changes. The experiment becomes compromised. The data becomes unreliable. So we hide. We stay distant. We observe quietly. Over time. Now imagine that logic applied to us, a developing species, a growing intelligence, a civilization still trying to understand itself. Would you interfere? Or would you watch? Because from our perspective, humanity is advancing. Technology is evolving. We are decoding the universe, building systems, creating artificial intelligence, asking deeper and deeper questions about reality. It feels like progress. It feels like discovery. But from another perspective, what if this is exactly what is being studied? Not just what we are, but how we become what we are. How we react to uncertainty. How we deal with conflict. How we evolve under pressure. How consciousness behaves inside limitation. Because evolution is not just biological. It is behavioral. And if something wanted to understand intelligence, it wouldn't need to reveal itself. It would need to observe it carefully, quietly, over time. And here is the unsettling part. we would never know. Because if something is observing us without interference, it would exist outside our perception, not necessarily far away, but simply beyond what we can detect, outside the range of our senses, outside the limits of our instruments, present but invisible. Which means that everything we experience would feel normal. Reality would continue as it always has. And the idea that we are alone would remain intact. But every now and then, something feels off. A moment of awareness, a strange sense that something is watching, a feeling that reality is deeper than it appears. Most of the time, we ignore it, we dismiss it, we return to what is familiar. But what if those moments are not random? What if they are? Hints, not proof, not evidence, but something harder to define. Because the universe is not just large, it is incomprehensibly vast. And within that vastness, the idea that we are completely unobserved may not be the safest assumption. So maybe the silence we hear is not the absence of life, but the absence of contact. Because contact would change everything, and observation changes nothing. So the question is no longer, are we alone? And not even, is there something out there? But something far more unsettling. What if something is already here and simply chooses not to be seen? If this made you think, take a moment to like the video and tell me in the comments, do you think we are alone or being observed?